specific lens. We want to move these numbers. We want to add the monthly active users to Twitter. So first and foremost, as full stack engineers, we're not trying to get very deep in one particular area, but instead we want people to sort of think about the whole stack as their playing field. So it's a great place to come in and learn how do you build systems on the front end and on the back end and on mobile, wherever we need to go to solve the problem. And so when we present, it could be that this quarter we're trying to move our retention rates from X% to Y%, and we're giving a lot of latitude and freedom to the teams to come up with what are the project ideas, what are some of the movers that we think could have impact, and letting them really run with it. So our job is to really provide the framework and help teams accomplish their goals, but we're not necessarily prescriptive as to how to do that. And I think that provides a lot of freedom. I think people find it pretty liberating. And then going back to that, though, of course, at the end of the day, we're metrics driven. So measure everything we do. We're holding ourselves accountable to hitting certain numbers, and it's actually very rewarding to be able to do work and know exactly how your work is being viewed by the users and how you're doing kind of individually and as a team. It's very nice. And actually it's very hard in many jobs to know sort of how you're doing, and our team actually luckily has a very easy way to know. And I think that's something that people find really fun and rewarding on the team. And then ultimately one of our core values at Twitter is ship it. We want to be moving fast, we want to be iterating quickly. We release to the site every day. We're trying to push things as fast as we can. There's a lot of scale, there's a lot of big challenges we have, but shipping things and getting data and getting feedback is super important to how we're going to actually continue to move these numbers. So just an overview of some of the things that you may work on if you come as an intern or as a full-time person to Twitter. We're building large-scale distributed systems. Massive queries per second. Across hundreds of nodes in a cluster. Really big data, kind of big distributed systems. I mentioned some of these other projects, such as People You May Know Digest and Network Digest. Those require a lot of big data, Hadoop, MapReduced kind of computations, and people on our team get very familiar with these tools very quickly because it's essential for what we're doing. We're getting deeper into recommendation systems and machine learning, so trying to understand, for a given set of users, how we can continually improve these suggestions over time. So we're bringing in machine learning expertise from both within the company and hiring it from outside. So definitely an interesting thing for people who are, AI or thinking about that as a field. And then lastly, as I mentioned, mobile is super important. So we're also building up expertise around iPhone, Android, HTML5. That's where most of our users are spending their time, and so therefore we also as a team need to spend our time building features into those products. So the great thing about the growth team is that it sort of gives you this, we kind of look at ourselves as a mini startup within Twitter. We have sort of all the skill sets needed to build products end to end. And ultimately we're holding ourselves accountable to making things happen. So it's a lot of fun, and I think especially people who've had a Stanford CS degree, I know you guys have the right background and training to do well, and so I think it's something that we're looking forward to hearing from you guys as we talk to you guys in the next few weeks. So kind of specifically about university programs, I think Christian mentioned his contact info is here, so certainly reach out to him, and we can kind of get people in the process right away, even independently from the campus recruiting section. And then maybe PK, you want to mention the product manager position that we have as well.
Yeah, we don't quite have a APM class that we're trying to start, but if anybody wants to, where's that slide? Oh. So we are hiring PMs in growth as well. So if you go to that link on URL/growthPM, you can find out about the job rec and send a mail to me and we can follow up. But we're not trying to start like a class of APMs that will hire 10 APMs. It's going to be very selective, but if somebody's interested on the PM side, we can chat more. I'm also going to be here after this talk. Chat more. Yeah, questions in general?
Yeah, here's our contact info as well. But yeah, so I'm going to open up the floor to questions. If you guys have any questions about Twitter, our team, anything else that may be on your mind.
How does Twitter make money?
Yes, so Twitter. Yeah, so we make money through a variety of different projects, 3 different products primarily. So promoted tweets is essentially the main driver of revenue for Twitter. You'll see on Twitter, sometimes you'll see a promoted tweet come up, which is an advertiser who's sending a promoted tweet in. Those are really scaling up now. We're launching a self-serve product, and so I think the revenue side of the business is going well. We also have a promoted accounts and a promoted trend product, but Yeah, I feel, I think revenue, much like growth, operates the same way in the sense that they have a very clear mandate to make certain numbers. They have, kind of full control over their sort of destiny of how they make their numbers, and they've been doing very well. So I think we've been very happy with performance of that.
So for internships, can you guys give us an example of like a really cool intern project, something that intern worked over the summer?
Yeah, you can talk about a couple of the guys.
Interestingly, when you saw the people you may know digest, it was done by an intern.
Oh.
So essentially, you could come in for like a long internship, like 3 to 4 months, and take an entire project end to end.
Yeah, so that was pretty impressive. He was able to come up with some actually really interesting breakthroughs on some of the logic around generating that, and yeah, that's scaled up to over 100 million people now, and yeah, so it was his internship projects, which is great. We had, I think, on our team our whole team is about 35 people, but we had like 8 interns last summer, so we really loved having interns on our team, and each of them made a really big impact on the particular areas that they were working on.
I think we kind of approach it as like an intern will join a team that they're interested in, like whether it's in machine learning or it's in back-end stuff or front-end. And whatever team you join, you'll kind of see what their roadmap is, and they'll kind of talk about what their wish list on the roadmap is, and you kind of take something to own on that and see it through. And you have like mentors, and the whole company's really good mentor all the time. Everybody's successful. It's open seating, so everyone's there to answer questions.
Which background should a product manager have, like engineer or how do you recommend?
Yeah,
So I think generally having a CS or technical background is super helpful because you're working most closely with engineers. So that will be most helpful. But I mean, having said that, I think having a quant background is more essential for a growth PM because we are metrics driven. So being able to assess the impact of projects as we're doing our planning for different projects is very essential.
How is a growth PM different from another PM at Twitter?
I mean, there are enough commonalities, but growth PM, the main thing that is different is that we are very much focused about metrics. Other PMs are also focused on metrics, but that is not their true North Star. That is not the only thing they're trying to optimize for. But for growth guys, like getting monthly active users, that's it. So all our project decisions as to which projects we pick in a quarter are based on what is the impact, what is the likely impact of this project. So they are essentially living and dying by the framework that are presented in a much more rigorous way. So it's less about having a strong consumer product sense. It's more about being able to come up and collate a lot of high impact ideas and building a great plan from that and helping execute the team essentially.
One more related question. So for a growth PM, it is important to grow in a particular area or just in numbers. How are these areas divided? Are you focusing on growing in certain geographies or certain age groups? What are the growth parameters?
So funny that you ask. I mean, in general, given where we are and given the scale that we want to get to, I mean, we just have to grow across the board. So a lot of our efforts are about global projects. So we are not doing country level stuff. There's a separate team that is focusing on specific countries, but not so much. But for growth, it's all about going global. I mean, it's a land grab right now. We want to get to 1 billion users ASAP, literally.
This is a general question. How's the work-life balance at Twitter?
What's a good work-life balance? No, I'm generally asking
Where you actually enjoy putting in those extra hours, you don't feel like you need to put in the extra hours to get to where you
I think in general I can speak for growth. What I see is that if we've done a good job at kind of coming up with a good plan for the quarter, you don't have to necessarily work 16-hour work days to have an impact. I think we do a lot of time thinking about what we want to work on, having really good planning. And that basically means you're operating on a very high leverage. So you don't have to necessarily, working longer will not necessarily move the needle on our key metrics. So it's a reasonably good work-life balance. I mean, people are generally not working on the weekends. But I mean, if Twitter is going to be one of the 5 things, a job at Twitter is going to be one of the 5 things that you care about, it's probably not the right balance. It's still the central focus of your life and still is for me and Akash as well. But it's not that is the only thing we have in our lives. I mean, I don't know if I answered the question.
Yeah, and I think to follow up on that point, I think one thing that we're trying to set up here is set up the context and the tools so that people feel you know, A, we want people to be excited by what they're working on and have the freedom to go do it. And I think that ends up being sort of, for you know, for myself personally, you know, I love sort of thinking about the problem, and you know, I want to be working on this and moving things. And I think if that's exciting, then I think it ends up being just, you know, a lot of fun actually. Like PK said, it's like we want to work smart because we want to get, you know, maximum gain with, you know, minimum. You know, we don't necessarily want to put in, you know, crazy effort just, you know, just for the sake of putting in effort. We obviously want to move the numbers. Sometimes it requires a lot of work. Sometimes it may be less work. But I think that's kind of how we're thinking about it.
I mean, there's more fun stuff at Twitter beyond the human hashtag.
Yeah, exactly.
We have one question.
I have two questions. So the first one is, can you repeat what the definition of an active user is?
So somebody who logs in at least once a month is active. And then we have core and casual. So core is logging in on 7 or more different days in a month. And casual is logging in 1 up to including 6.
Okay. And how many active users do you expect to have by the end of next year?
By the end of this year, I can tell you 200 million.
Next year.
Double that. No, seriously.
Yeah. That's what we want. Yeah, exactly. And it's, they look to executive team looks to us to sort of help drive that number up. So